You gotta hear that. Oh my God. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Issues Program post-episode recap of The Walking Dead. And today we're looking at the season finale of Season 4. And this episode was called A. That's all it was called, A. One letter.
Well, you saw why.
Yeah, A. Why do you think it was called A? I don't know if I know why.
You didn't see why at the end?
No, tell me.
They were shuffled down, wrote A.
Oh, okay.
They were herded.
I missed that. I missed it.
All the way. They were marked on the wall everywhere. Down every door, every tunnel was marked with an A. Then they even got into the. We'll get to that in the end.
Yeah. Do you think that A stands for awesome sauce? Is that what this episode? Because this episode was a lot of great stuff. This episode gave me what I've been missing for so long. I was hungry, starving in the sea of crackers without Rick, and this episode gave me a lot of Rick. You knew right.
Oh yeah.
I wanted the Rick. But before we get there, hi everybody, welcome. This is the Issues Program post-episode recaps. I'm Phil, the Issues Guy. With me is my co-host for this adventure, Joe Dreads, Dirty, whatever the hell he wants to be called today. I'm not sure. I got to check with him first. But we're here tonight to talk about, and this is our final episode for The Walking Dead for Season 4. We'd like to thank everybody that's been tuning in and checking out the videos, even for a few minutes or a few seconds, just stopping in. Thank you very much. Thanks for the likes, the comments, and the subscriptions. Keep it up. We'll continue to do more TV shows as you request them and as I watch them. We're going to put more and more content here over the next couple of months and years. So just like to thank everybody for all your support so far. And enough with that shit. Let's get to The Walking Dead. This was
Well, what is the next big show that we're going to do? Tell them what the next big show is that we're going to do.
Okay, no, we'll talk about that at the end. Let's not jump the lead.
Alrighty.
We'll let them get to the end here, but it is coming on Sunday nights, and it's about a game and a lot of prickly things. If that's enough of a hint, and little whiny bastards crying and dying. So speaking of little whiny crying bastards dying, we got a lot of Carl stuff tonight too. Carl almost got touched inappropriately by a really sketchy individual. This was like 1 hour photo if Robin Williams actually got to get his hands on the kid. It was some scary stuff. There was, but again, I feel like there's so much of this episode that I feel like we should just get to the episode recap and then talk about at the end our feelings of the season as a whole. So let's get to this episode recap. And also, I just want to state that I don't care about age groups. I play with Legos too. It doesn't matter. I'll be with the nerdy kid. Legos doesn't matter what the age group are. You're never too old to play with Legos.
All ages. It's an all ages toy.
And I think that's another important thing that came from tonight's episode, Joe. I really do. So we start off this episode, and we know right from the very, very beginning that this is going to be a Rick episode because we're due. We start off with a flashback to the prison, to the gang getting out of a car, and that has Maggie, Glenn, and Rick in it. And then we get our big reveal, and because I wasn't expecting this, we get the none other than Scott Wilson, Herschel, in a big role tonight. We get a lot of Herschel tonight, Joe.
Oh yeah, came back from the dead.
Back from the dead. I personally like that. I like that they brought Herschel back in this situation instead of doing something stupid and bringing like Laurie back or something. I don't want Laurie, but Herschel, right. You miss that guy. He's an awesome dude.
He had a lot to teach us.
He did. And Joe, I just need to say I don't usually drink alone, but since you're here, I'm drinking a beer, and as you can tell how bad I am at drinking beer as it overflowed as I put it down. I don't even know how to drink beer. It's a bloody shame. It's horrible.
Happens to everybody.
It does. I have a drinking problem. I'm head striker. So we go back to as we said the gang talking, and we get a lot of Herschel tonight, which is really good. Checking in with Maggie and Glenn right in this first scene, and we see Carl and Rick talking about a few minor issues that they have because we're not sure at the beginning here. I wasn't sure when this was set. Or if this was even, when we get to what we have in a second here, we see Carol and Tyrese for their only sighting of the evening, for whatever that's worth, at the beginning in the flashback, is our only Carol and Tyrese sighting. And we go a good amount of Herschel with a look on his face like it's Spaghetti Tuesday, and he's getting ready to make some spaghetti. He's happy for Spaghetti Tuesday. He's happy to have all the kids back. We see them working at the fence, so we know this is kind of way before the governor came back. And then we flash to Rick sitting in hell by a car thinking of all this shit that happened. At that moment, I had some bad flashes thinking like Carl and Michonne were dead. I'm like, why is Rick alone? And it's some serious stuff had happened, and he just looked like he was in hell and all alone. And that's our intro to our break. So we know we're on for some serious shit.
Definitely centric.
Definitely Rick-centric, absolutely. And like I was saying a second ago, I kind of thought at the beginning there that he wasn't really remembering a specific things. He was just remembering like the good old times, and you know how when someone remembers the good old times, they kind of combine a lot of events into one big event. And I kind of thought that's what he was doing, but we find out later it's a specific time. It's after the period of time when Carl shot the kid. At the beginning of the first lame governor events, at the end when he shot the kid, in between that time and the beginning of season 4. It's somewhere in between season 3 and the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 4. It's in that gap area. It's sticking it. That section was sticking it in its gap. And different from the other episodes this season, we get a lot of these flashes through the episode. We get a lot of flashes back and forth with the Herschel scenes and Herschel having a big effect on what Rick was dealing with. And I actually thought it was really effective. I like that they were doing that tonight.
Yep. There was also in one of those flashbacks there that we get our sighting of Beth for the night.
Yeah, she's in a lot of the flashbacks. She's in the most of the flashbacks with Herschel, Rick, and Carl. We don't get a lot of which is interesting to think, and we'll talk about that when we get to the end, the fact that Carol and Tyrese weren't in Terminus, and they're out there somewhere. So we kind of, with what happens at the end, we kind of know how they're going to probably facilitate their escape. Carol and Tyrese are going to play some role in it, obviously.
Yeah.
So we come back from I kind of think, I have to admit, I enjoyed, as much as I enjoyed the Terminus stuff, and we're going to get to it early, I enjoyed the earlier stuff that happened that we're about to get into. So we go to the woods with Rick, Carl, and Michonne. They're making some food. They're very, very hungry. Rick makes a joke. How hungry are you? How hungry are you? And Carl's like, I'm 15. Michonne's like, I'm a 28. And he's checking the snares, and Carl goes with him, and Rick bosses his new woman, Michonne, around. Yo, woman, you coming with me, too, and drags her by the hair like Flintstone walking down the street and brings her over to him. And they go and check out the traps and everything. And this is where we get our trailer from last week that was on The Talking Dead, where Carl's like, are we close to Terminus? Are we going to tell them everything about us, what we've been through, who we are? And Rick says, basically, we're going to tell him who we are. And Carl's like, how do you say that? Who are we? And this is one of those things where Carl shows that he's a kid. A couple of times in this episode, we really get shots that Carl is a child. Because doesn't Carl get that everyone's like this now? Like, there's no normal people. There can't be normal people out there. Everything that they've been through is the norm. People aren't going to look down on what they've been through. Maybe they've been through a little bit more hell than everybody. But really, if you're in the zombie apocalypse, are you going to be freaked out when someone tells you they killed somebody and killed a bunch of zombies? No, you want those people on your team, right? Don't you?
Absolutely, you do. I mean, you have to, of course. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know what's right and what's wrong yet, and he doesn't know who they are. So he wasn't asking what are they going to tell other people. He was asking who we are. Just like you said, he's a kid. He doesn't know. He has no clue.
And that was and I guess that was the point of having all the back and forth with the Herschel stuff, because it really ended up turning into being about Rick teaching Carl to be something else, to be something besides a killer in this world, to make sure he doesn't turn into Shane. But I don't know if
that's what the point was behind the Legos, with the other kid with the Legos. He comes in, he says, oh, hey, I kind of brought those back for Carl. He goes, yeah, but they were just sitting there. They hadn't been sitting there forever.
But this is what weirds me out here, okay? Because that kid's dead. Because that kid's playing with Legos. Carl's still alive because he knows how to use a gun.
Exactly, and that's a lesson there. That's a lesson. That's what pretty much everything. That's the lesson.
Yeah, and I think
He had to teach him more. He has to teach him how to, and that's what Herschel was saying to him too. You know, you got to teach him more than just about being out there killing people. You got to teach him how to survive everywhere.
because
You know,
I guess you're right, and it goes into something Rick says later, and again we'll get into it a little bit more about how Rick has a switch that he can turn, but Rick knows how to be sensible and a friendly guy, but he also knows how to flip that switch and do to people what he did in the bar a couple of seasons. Excuse me, in the liquor store a couple of seasons ago, or was it a drugstore? To those random guys he bumped into when he just.
no, it was a bar.
Was it a bar?
It was a bar. It was a bar fight. Good old fashioned bar fight. Saloon gun down. It was very nicely done. You got to remember, he's a cop, so he's ready for those kind of moments, those kill or be killed moments.
But he's also not a doofus, pig-headed cop like Shane was, in the sense that Shane's one of those guys that goes into being a cop because he likes to beat up on people, so it furthers that kind of life. Rick went in for justice, but he knows how to kill. He knows how to take people down quickly.
He knows where the line is. He knows exactly where the line is.
Atlanta, Georgia isn't any playground even before the zombies. There's a lot of being a cop there in Georgia. He probably dealt with some serious stuff. People like
he was a suburb of Georgia.
Was it a suburb cop?
Yeah, he's a suburb. He's like an Essex County sheriff.
Okay.
That's what he is.
Okay, maybe I spoke too soon though. He's not in the city. He's not like Police Academy 5, City Under Siege. He's not like one of those cops in there dealing with situations like that. No. Okay, so he's more of like a Nahant, Massachusetts cop sitting in.
No, maybe not Nahant. Maybe anywhere between a Lynn or a.
I love this game. It's so local. People watching us are like way in far out lands. They're like, okay, go to Wikipedia and look up Nahant, Mass, and look up these towns we're talking about here. They're very tiny, very tiny, very tiny. So we go after this. We get a brief zombie killing and Hunter Rick teaching some class. I felt like we were watching a History Channel special. Now this is how you bait your trap, and we're learning how to do traps by Andrew Lincoln, who really, being a Brit, screw these Brits. He does a really good Southern accent. You got to give him credit for his accent. It's really believable. It's almost like as believable as someone like Mimi Driver when she's in Grosse Pointe Blank and has the accent she has in that movie, and then I heard her British accent in a movie she was in. I go, that British accent's fake. I thought her real accent was fake, and the same thing with Andrew Lincoln. Some of these Brits, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I think he might just be a guy from down south that's pretending to be British. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then we hear a scream of a guy getting zombie gang eaten, and Carl wants to help. He runs over like a dumbass, like I don't know why I got this.
Who was that guy anyway? Like, that was kind of random, huh?
Yeah, it was just some random dude. And what I thought was really sick wasn't that they ran away, because obviously they can't get involved in all of that. I understand the perspective of having to move on and just go, but they sit there and they watch. That was kind of sick. They're like, wait. Stay. Okay, he's done. Yep, done now. Okay.
There was a moment maybe they could have helped, but who knows if he had already been bitten or not.
That's true. I mean,
so why even take the risk? And who knows who the hell this guy is?
Yeah, I don't blame them for not helping. I think in that situation you can't help. You can't just run in willy-nilly there when you're outnumbered by that many walkers. For someone you have no clue who they are. I don't take anything away from them. I understand, again, Carl showing his childishness there because he just doesn't understand. But I don't think they needed to stay there and watch it for as long as they did. They sat there for a while.
Everybody watches a train wreck, dude. Everybody. When you go down the highway, everybody stops to watch the guy pulled over on the other side or the accident on the other side. You don't have to. It doesn't slow you down on your side of the highway, but you got to watch, right?
Everyone rubbernecks, and that's what causes the traffic jam, and it pisses you off. So they get a traffic jam. They get the zombie traffic jam.
And you need those little moments so it makes you happy that it's not your group.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what happens when you split up, everybody. Stay together.
I know. Again, good point, though. Who was this one guy wandering around, and how did he survive this long? To just wander into that situation. He's just walking through the woods. Ho, ho, ho. Well, I'm surrounded by a horde. I don't know.
Help me.
Please help. So then we get another flashback to Herschel waking up Rick. Herschel doesn't know the time, and he makes it a point because of a later reveal to say that to remind the audience that he gave his watch to Glenn.
Again, I gotta say, again, we talk about watches. We're talking about time. How many episodes now? We had the clock with Daryl in the mortuary, Glenn with the watch in the prison. Again, the watch now.
And I agree, and I think the line is
Dale had a watch that he always wound, and you talked about the time then too.
And there was a lot of talk with Dale at that period. I remember where people were saying to him, "Time has no meaning now," and him being like, "No, this is about staying to the normalcy of life." And I think it's funny that Herschel, who's kind of the Dale, who became the Dale in some sense, is saying that he doesn't even care about what time it is. It's always the morning to him. What is that? What he said? Was it something like that?
It's always right now.
It's always right now.
What time is it? Well, it's now.
Yeah, it's right now. And he said something like, "I always feel like it's morning." He just had such an amazing perspective if you really look back on it. And they weren't glorifying it in this episode. That was Herschel. That was Mr. Spaghetti Tuesday's Herschel. I mean, he knew how to. He did it on the farm in his own way, even though he's a little bit more uptight and protective of bringing other people.
Like an ostrich with his head in the sand a little bit.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and he knows, but it's very Buddhist. Is Herschel a Buddhist? Is that what we figured out, like without knowing it?
Maybe a little bit, like with some sort of Zen time. It's always now. It's always, it's just always time.
Is it good to be a Buddhist in the zombie apocalypse? Some part of me thinks that's dangerous. As long as you're not worrying about being too passive. If you start getting like that little girl and worrying about if they're actually alive or anything like that, you might. I don't know. I personally
don't Buddhist monks aren't exactly all passive, are they?
I know. I want to say I played a video game where I'm doing karate with a Buddhist monk. I want
to say video games are law and will someday be the basis of all history. Then, by that law, yes, okay, yes. So Buddhists are definitely not pacifists.
Definitely
Buddhist monks can definitely kick ass.
We figured this out on the Issues Program post-episode recaps. We've done it. And also, I do think that like a serious, like crazy. Like crusade-bearing Catholic with a sword would be good to have in the zombie apocalypse. Fighting Satan down. Pushing Satan down with his blade. I mean, I wouldn't mind having
any kind of warrior is good, and hopefully a moral one. I mean, there are a lot of immoral people out there behind every crusade, I guess. So.
But yeah, we do have our samurai with Michonne, and we do get her called the samurai later in the episode, which is kind of
samurai, the archer, the father.
Yeah, I cast 3 points of haste to my archer.
They call him the leader. The leader, or the ringleader.
I guess they're playing D&D at Terminus.
Yeah. Right.
So after our flashback, it connects to Rick being like taking his gun out. Herschel giving him kind of the speech about he should go out and help him with something, and this is the beginning of Farmer Rick. And we also see the start of Beth becoming the babysitter in this scene. And we cut right to Rick killing people, right? Killing some walkers.
Yep, to the walker killing.
The walker killing, right? It's like a cutaway. And it's then the three of them walking down the street looking for food. They found a truck with a zombie in the ground that Michonne stabs with a really cool POV shot. Definitely a good visual right there from the zombie's perspective, the sword coming in. And then it was a nice angle to a cut of broken glass with Carl sleeping to kind of set up what was about to happen.
Middle of the night, Carl's locked away in the truck for some safety.
Yeah, it was a really good setup. This is my favorite scene of the episode, maybe my favorite scene of the entire season. Oh, we have a phone down. We have phone down. Malfunction, people. Sorry about that. And
using a Snickers tin to keep my phone up so I don't have to hold it so it's nice and steady. And the Snickers can just fell right over.
No, bum. It happens. It was an exciting episode, guys.
And wardrobe malfunction.
So we cut over to Rick and Michonne talking about camping and how they forgot how hard it was on the run. That's basically what we get here. Them talking about how getting food every day and wishing they could just chill and relax. Michonne wonders a little bit. She starts to say she wonders about Terminus being legit. Could it be another governor type situation? She actually says that. And right away they hear something. They think they hear something in the distance or someone scurrying about, but they kind
There's
of ignore.
a snapped twig in the distance.
Yeah. Hey, you notice how they don't do anything? That was a little. I mean, considering that they're this crack team of heroes, it just seemed a little. They were just like, oh, guess it's nothing. I mean, it's at least a zombie walking around there. You gotta be a little scared.
Right. Yeah, well, it could have just been an animal. Who knows?
Okay.
They were quiet. They went shh.
Yeah, they did say shh. Okay, I guess that will scare away any zombie. Good point there, Joe. Good point.
And don't they always make a barrier of like tin cans and string and stuff. But this time they didn't. They were like, oh, we got a truck. No barrier of tin cans and strings and stuff like that in the back.
Yeah, we're no worries. There's no bad people out there. We don't have to worry about that.
And we even see that earlier, the night before, when they go right before they go check the snare, that they were in an enclosed little barrier with string and cans.
Yeah.
This time they weren't.
Michonne got conveniently stupid. She does that sometimes. And sometimes she's like the most careful person in the universe, and Rick too. And then they get conveniently stupid sometimes when the script needs them to. But it led into something really cool, so it didn't really matter. But Michonne is the only one, which this is weird to me, that she was the only one that started asking these Terminus questions. No one else that we bumped into out of anybody in our group, Carl, Maggie, even Sasha didn't want to go, but it wasn't for the reasons why, like the obvious reasons. It was because bullshit that she didn't want to go. Bob, no one said the obvious thing that Michonne just stated. But what if this could be kind of messed up here? There could be some.
I think I remember someone saying that. I'll have to rewatch the whole season to find it, I'm sure, but I think I remember when someone looked at the board, someone saying like, what if this is
a slave? Was it Abraham? Maybe it could have been Abraham.
May have been Abraham or Bob.
Yeah, maybe.
Or Sasha. Of course, it was probably Sasha, but she was probably just saying it to get out of going anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely, because Sasha definitely did refute going to Terminus, and she probably mentioned that as a possible. Oh, it could just be another horrible situation, but it was obvious. It ended up being all because she was scared. She was a little frightened because of the whole worrying about finding out her brother was dead things. And again, as we mentioned a few episodes back, about just kind of needing something to do in the script. Excuse me. Needing something to do in the script in that situation. So right as she's asking some of these really good questions, we cut to a gun. Wait, let me see if I got a gun here. Well, it wasn't a gun. A gun. Or phaser rifle. A gun.
You geek.
A disruptor.
You geek. I love it.
A disruptor right to Rick's head. And who is it? Yes, in fact, other listeners, we know his name is Joe, but no.
But we're still going to call him Mayor Hale.
Mayor Joe Hale. Because I didn't know what his name was on Sons of Anarchy. For my imagination, I'm just going to name him Joe now on Sons of Anarchy. Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor Joe Hale is mayor of the Claimers. Now, he has a gun to the head, and it's the Claimers. And I got really, really excited because I wrote in my notes, gun to Rick's head, it's Joe Hale and the Claimers. Sounds like a band.
Yeah, it's Joe Hale and the Claimers.
Joe Hale and the Claimers.
Teach him for good. What's he say? Teach him for forever, or
teach him till
he's done.
Yeah, teach him till he's done is good. He had too many amazing one-liners for me to write down between the end of that scene. It's like this guy's got more one-liners than Merle. I mean, this guy's on fire. Like, we're gonna miss him. He has the snappy dialogue. He's like bam, bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam. Like, I want more of this from him on Sons of Anarchy. Like I find him. Like, I think he's good on Sons of Anarchy. He plays an amazing Dick, like real memorable Dick. But he plays kind of it makes me respect the actor more because Hale is a doof that gets used a lot in a sense. Like he gets outsmarted and he can't really keep up with the wacky repartee of the Suns guys.
He's he's 2-bit and he's alone there. He's a different type of a
dick. Yeah, and
completely different type of person. And I wanted to say this in regards to this. I think it's very clear that these claimers are. We had a couple of flashes earlier in the season. Once when Maggie passes the sign with Bob and Sasha just before they find the bus, it very clearly states, "Do not pick up hitchhikers. They could be escaped convicts." And we know they just came from a prison. And then later on, Glenn and New Chick pass the same sign again. Careful of hitchhikers, they could be escaped convicts. And then these guys were very obviously, at the end of this scene, or in the middle, just next what you're about to talk about, is when we definitely find out that
these guys have
definitely a different type of a bad guy than what we've encountered.
Even the governor has some sort of I'm not going to say class, but some sort of, like respect as a bad guy. I mean, he's more psycho than these guys, but these guys are criminals. These guys are evil people, bad people.
Right, and we knew before when Rick heard them in the house that they were going to rape Michonne anyway. They were already claiming her just by the wet laundry hanging up.
Prison rules.
And those are prison. I claim it. Like that's straight up prison mentality. Prison.
Yeah,
I think it was definitely a shot. And I think that also said, like when we saw that dead body last week, that these guys weren't the cannibals that everybody's been talking about in all the rumor posts, because they left that dude with an arrow in his head. They didn't cut him up. They didn't cook him. And if they were cannibals, that was.
These guys are just dumbass.
That was dinner, right? Exactly.
These guys are just dumbass, pure like evil bastards. They're not cannibals. They're not sick, twisted in the way of a bigger system of being sick and twisted. They're sick and twisted because they're dumbasses. They're a bunch of merles. They're a team of merles.
They're exactly who Daryl was talking about. He was with, and what he was a part of. He was just a part of that. He talked about it with Beth in the episode before Beth disappears. He talks about, I was just kind of floating around doing what my brother was doing, and that's exactly the group that he was put in this time.
Yep, absolutely, and it was why he could just melt into it so easily too, and just kind of fall into the guise of being with those people. In the same sense that if you're, I'm not necessarily the type of person that's like a play sportsy type people, but I played football for X amount of years. So if you put me in that situation again, I could kind of melt into my, yes, I'm just one of the soldiers football mentality, just because I've seen it before, but it doesn't mean it's me. And that's what kind of happened with Daryl. He just went back into an old norm that he was used to of something he joined the team because his older brother or his parents wanted him to join the team. His older brother being Merle.
I got to think part of him knows too exactly what kind of people he was with when he says, once he found out they were tracking someone, that there was more than that. They actually had a mission, a purpose as to where they were headed.
Yeah.
He says, I just stayed with them. I knew they were tracking someone, but I stayed with them. And he knows on some level too that if he doesn't stay with them, at that point, they're just going to turn around, track him, take his weapons, take that nice coat, and do away with him. Yeah, and then go about it. Who else they were looking for before?
I mean, we'll get to it in a second here. We see how quickly they'll turn on him in a second once he disagrees with Joe. I mean, Joe's amused by him, but only so far to when
teach him all the way, boys.
Oh yeah, only to when it crosses his agenda of building Charming Heights. So
yes.
So we come right back. See, I think Joe would have a much easier time dealing with the Suns than that's what Hale needs to do. He needs to bring in his twin brother Joe to handle the Suns next season. So, anyways, but right back to where we ended after the commercial break, where we get Joe with another bunch of.
What are you gonna have Joe Hale show up to rape Abel? Is that?
We get another bunch of great one-liners by him. Today is the day of reckoning. I think we're gonna be going to bed. Oh, I thought I was going to go to bed. Just to think I was going to go to bed. And they must have been right there. Rick and Michonne must not have done a good job scouting out the area because they weren't that far behind. And as Daryl said later on in this scene, that they spotted them like right away, that they saw them, they were tracking them. So Rick and Michonne were being very sloppy in this situation, very sloppy. So we flash to right after the gunshot, and we flash to the car. A creepy guy has a knife pointing it at Carl and kind of giving him rapey eyes, giving him really very rapey eyes. Again, I said that before.
Oh yeah, he was drooling. He was drooling.
I said it earlier, but I'll say it again because you can say jokes 3 times. He was looking at him like Robin Williams was looking at the kid in 1 Hour Photo, like just giving him the "Hey there, son." Or like the Family Guy looking at the son.
Well, I got some popsicles in the basement.
Hey, you want some popsicles?
Would you like to come in and have some popsicles?
You want to suck on my knife, don't you, Carl? You know,
You pig fucker! I've been calling you for weeks. Where's my paper, you goddamn pig?
Yeah, it was kind of dirty, and more great lines by Joe Hale. Daryl pops out right at the right time. Wait a minute! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! And Hale's like, "You're counting down the New Year's ball." Wait, I'm counting down the New Year's ball.
I'm on 8. Why are you stopping me?
Yeah, you're stopping me at 8, Daryl. Don't stop me at 8. Don't be stopping me when I'm doing my killing, boy. It was like one of those things. It's okay to interrupt me, but don't you interrupt me when don't you be calling me honky in front of other white people, my brother. You know.
This is where I'm a little confused. Daryl's got to know that. What's he going to say? That they're not just going to kill Daryl and then kill and rape like they wanted to anyway.
Yeah, I don't get Daryl's logic right here. Essentially, especially with what he says.
Like, there's not going to be any take me instead. They'll take him also, but not instead.
Yeah, Daryl says, "Let these people go. They're good people. You want to take blood? Take it from me."
Yeah, no.
And Joe kind of looks like he's hurt for a second. Hale's like,
"You were supposed to be my son.
Yeah,
you were supposed to be another son to me."
It was the "you let me down," the Donnie Brasco look. Donnie Brasco.
I brought you in.
I brought you in. I vouched for you, Daryl. You know, and you did this to me. It's kind of what we predicted, minus Daryl eventually dying, because we were predicting that something like this was going to happen, where Daryl takes Rick's side and Hale feels really, really, really burned. So he burned Hale's ass.
I need to interrupt you for just one moment. You got me thinking about Al Pacino, and I saw a really good impression of Al Pacino done by John Leguizamo in his something, I forget what it's, something clown, Ghetto Clown.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll definitely have to check that out. I love John Leguizamo. He's one of those actors, I hope, similar to the way Kevin Spacey showed up on House of Cards. I want John Leguizamo to get an HBO or a Netflix show.
This is an HBO special. It's a one-man show. I think it's HBO. It's either HBO or Showtime.
It's one-man special, but I also like when he tries to act, not when he's just doing his crazy stand-up John Leguizamo stuff. So
this is really good, though. You'll like it.
We get to Daryl saying, "Let these people go. You want blood? Take it from me." Joe looks like he's hurt, and he's like, "Listen, Daryl, you killed my friend, and you say he's a good person. Now that's a lie. Guys, beat the shit out of Daryl. Beat him till he dies. And boys,
teach him all the way." Same thing he said about the dude they left at the auto shop. Yep.
And the dirty guy busts open the car and takes Carl out. And Joe says, "First we beat Daryl to death, then we're gonna fuck the girl, and then the boy, and then you die." Rick says,
"No, it was the boy, then the girl." Yeah, it's one or the other. Yeah.
The boy, then the girl. And
if he said Michonne first, I think the dude had it wrong because he went right after that boy. He had no interest in Michonne whatsoever.
He was like a hungry hippo after him. Yep. He was getting, he was going after Carl. I wrote this in the notes later. The way Carl was affected by it and how fast eager this guy was. I don't know how far it went. I don't know if he got a little pre-excited for the boy here. He was very excited. I think there was some dry humping going on Carl. There was some bad stuff going on. So then we get a fight Rick starts to fight back, and Carl's about to get raped. Michonne's kind of pinned down on the ground. Daryl's getting beat by 5 guys. Michonne kind of fights back.
It was just 2 guys.
Was it 2 guys? Okay.
Yeah, 2 guys.
Michonne's kind of fighting back and squirming around. Like you get the feeling like Michonne's gonna get loose at some point. And
well, she's just kind of sitting there with a gun to her head too. She's not really like tied up or anything. I don't think. And she's just at gunpoint too.
And Carl's like just about to be raped. He's been turned around and presented, and Joe's got Rick in a bear hug, kind of beating the shit out of him, governor style, like really getting the best out of him. What? Okay, before we get here, because Rick says it, no, I'll get to it because Rick says it in a second, and I want to talk about Rick can beat the shit out. Is Tyrese the biggest pussy in the zombie apocalypse? Because Rick can just toss him around, but he's getting his ass kicked by Hale and he's getting his ass kicked by the governor. Both of which, like, no offense, Tyrese looks like he could be like a linebacker. He looks like Jim Brown. And don't you think that Tyrese could have put up a little bit better fight against Rick? With these other guys are just beating the piss out of him. They just have evil mastermind strength. Is that a thing in movies and TV?
Well, let's remember we have an out for why Rick has a tough time with this fight too. He mentions in the beginning, in a couple of days we'll go to Terminus. I need just a couple more days to finish healing. So he's still injured. We still know that. And then he just a couple of days before too, we had that other fight with the guy up in the bathroom, and he kills him. He's not he's been walking for days.
Okay, but it just seems like it's convenient, his fighting, that sometimes he has intense fighting skill powers, and at other times he gets his ass kicked by the main bad guy.
And he's at a disadvantage. He starts on the ground with a gun to his head. So even though he gets the first shot, he gets the headbutt, the gun goes off by his ear. That'll disorient you. That's no joke. He doesn't succumb to that. He still gets up and punches the dude, but he's still dazed and dizzy from that gunshot in his head.
Because the guy fires a gun right by his head and kind of shocks him.
Yeah, that's right next to his ear, that bang.
But Rick must have, we were talking about video games and having the history of society, Rick must have studied his history books and studied the chapter in Mortal Kombat, because he does a serious fatality on this guy, and he just bites his neck open.
He goes zombie on him. He goes zombie on him, and he takes a chunk out of his neck. Most people are expecting a headbutt. What's he going to do now? Oh, he's going to headbutt him. Nope. He's going to jugulate him.
He went full zombie on him. You never go full zombie. He went full zombie on him.
He went full zombie on him.
Yep, he went full. He just started biting and gnawing on him, ripping out his parts of his body, like ripping out grossness. And he's ripping them out, and then next thing you know, he's got eyeballs of Elmo or something.
That caked blood beard mask.
There's some weird stuff going on here, and it was awful, awful good, but awfully good. And right at that point, everyone else was kind of shocked and looking at what just happened, and Michonne and Carl and Daryl used that opportunity to kind of get the upper hand. Or specifically Daryl and Michonne do, and they start kicking ass, and they're beating the crap out of everybody, and the only one that's left is our Raper John, we'll call him, and Raper John runs away and gets all scared, and Rick goes, "No, he's mine," and runs over to him and takes his knife and then just starts stabbing his neck like a serial killer, like Siler searching in someone's brain for their powers. It's serious. And we just go
stabbing you. It's stabbing you. It's stabbing you.
Yeah, we go to commercial break with just the sounds of squishing brains. It's like.
Yep. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. He didn't stop until he felt the earth beneath him. I'm sure. I'm sure there was nothing left of this guy's head.
Yep, and you felt that. Oh shit, you felt that because honestly,
didn't everybody want to do that? Everybody wanted to do that. All of America was happy he did that.
Yeah,
I think the only person a little bit shocked by it was Carl.
Yep, and we'll get to that later. But Carl, I think at first I thought Michonne was shocked by it too, but
no, she understood it completely. She was like, "Yeah, hell yeah, thank you, dude."
She
wasted no time. She wasted no time. As soon as Rick started with the commotion. And that guy looked away. She grabbed that gun and popped that dude right in the head. Dropped.
Yeah, I think she was even more turned on by the whole thing because she felt more and more like they were connected, like it connected them on some level. And I think she likes Boss Rick. Like when Rick's doing when Rick goes crazy, when Rick goes full zombie on people, I think she likes that because again it shows Rick has this switch, and we talk about this in a second when we come back. So we come back to Herschel, another Herschel scene, talking to Rick, influencing Rick to become the whole farmer Rick thing. Rick says he needs to go do his leader thing, he needs to go on a hunt or go on a run. Herschel says, no, you stay here, I teach you, you teach Carl, we're safe here, it's worked for a while, you bring Carl back, and this is where we find out when it was. You brought Carl off the line because he shot that kid, you need to teach him another way. Let's teach him how to farm. We can do it.
He needs to know more than just killing to survive. If this is how we end up surviving, there's more than just killing that he needs to learn.
Yeah,
everybody needs to learn a lot to survive.
And Herschel's right essentially, but because Carl already has that other side. It's not like Carl's completely in the dark and doesn't know how to kill. He just needs to make sure he remembers about life before he goes too far down the deep end. And Rick does too, and I think Herschel knew that, and that's why he influenced Rick to become a farmer and everything. But I do think that in a sense he signed his own death certificate by doing that, because by Rick losing that edge, it made them lax enough to let a tank pull up to their front gate. And like a whole bunch of shit happened to put them in a position where the governor was in line for a comeback. Because if Rick was really on it, him, Michonne, and Daryl would not have stopped till they found the governor and killed him.
Right, and you knew that was exactly what was going to happen. The moment it comes out of their mouth, he's gone. The governor's gone. You can stop looking. You've been tracking all this time. He's gone. And Daryl even comes up with that earlier in this season as to like why he's so upset. He's like, I gave up. I listened to Rick and gave up, and Rick listened to who? Rick listened to Herschel and gave up, and decided that they could get lax, which is not how Rick feels anymore. And that's why we're getting this contrast in this. He does some pretty brutal stuff to get them out of that situation, by ripping that guy's throat out with his own teeth, becoming exactly the thing he's been killing for this last year and a half, however long it's been.
Yeah, and then we get a little bit of the battle is only half the, just silly. Changing things here doesn't change anything out there, but it's a good start. Like that's the great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man. So now we go to Rick as we saw at the start, inside the truck at the start of the episode, on the outside of the truck looking like hell after eating a person. We understand why he was looking that way. We go into the truck and we see Carl and Michonne, Michonne comforting him like a good mother, and Daryl's walking over to Rick, and we get a Daryl and Rick scene. Tells him to clean up himself, and Rick's like, no, I don't need to clean up myself. This shit tastes good. This is the most protein I've had in years.
Tastes like chicken.
It's like chicken. This is okay. You ever see the movie Alive? This isn't too bad. And this is when they just have their talk. He tells Rick basically about the whole Beth situation, that he's with Beth. No, she's not dead. She's just gone.
Just gone.
And he lost it.
He doesn't say like gone abducted or gone run away. Gone and her stuff laying behind as a car peeled away that I chased after for 10 miles. He just says gone.
Yeah, you got to figure that they had more. There was more to that conversation off camera that we didn't see. You got to figure that Rick maybe asked a few more questions. Gone? What do you mean gone? Like not dead? No, gone. Which is interesting because Beth is not, as far as we know, Beth's not at Terminus. So these completely different people that captured her.
We saw Beth at Terminus. You didn't see Beth at Terminus?
I might have missed her in the car.
No. She wasn't in the car. She was at Terminus. She was when they're all outside and we see Tasha Yar again. Yeah. Beth was right there getting served up on a plate.
I get that one. I
think there's a comment saying that on our last week's show too, but it's definitely what I think is going to be.
Barbecue Beth? You think we got barbecue Beth? You think Maggie ate some fresh Beth when she showed up at Terminus?
Yeah, maybe either that, or we'll find out that Tyrese and Carol will find her somehow.
Don't they know never to trust a Romulan? That's not Tasha Yar. That's the Romulan version of Tasha Yar.
Yeah, I know. Tasha Yar's dead.
Tasha Yar's dead. This is Tasha Yar's daughter that's in Terminus.
Daughter clone or something.
Don't let it fool you. That's the daughter. We just need to get Brent Spiner on the show now, and we're all set.
Yeah.
So Rick and Daryl start talking, and they,
as long as he doesn't pull another Brent Spiner.
And yeah, there needs to be a season 3. We need to find out what the Brent Spiner is. So he tells Rick about Beth. Is she dead? No, she's gone. And he starts explaining to Rick why he's with these people. He's like, they had a code. It was simple and stupid, but it was something, and I was alone, so I followed them. They said they were looking for a guy. They spotted him last night, and it was you three. Blah 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 blah. We already talked kind of about this, and basically what comes out of this is Rick saying to Daryl, "You're my brother. Well, we're close," and it's just a real emotional moment between Rick and Daryl about how we connected, and Rick's starting to get psyched up now. You can see Rick starting to get the Hulk Hogan shake.
Daryl does have family. That's what Beth told him. That's what Rick told him. You know.
And this was the culmination of that, because hearing it from Rick then and actually being able to find the people, but. This is where we get what we were talking about, what we're hinting at. Rick says, "You've seen me with Tyrese. You've seen the things I can do. I'm crazy. Am I crazy? I can direct my crazy in the proper situations and save the people I care about."
Yep.
And we flash.
He's a cop, and he was apparently a good cop. He knows exactly where the line is drawn. He knows exactly when to kill. Like, he didn't just kill those guys in the bar. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to kill you guys in the bar, and and after he did kill the guys in the bar, he pulled that boy off the fence and brought him home, like, wanted to save his life, kind of. He didn't know what to do with him, so
after that point, we get to we go to we get a flash to Carl and Michonne. Carl looking scared, Michonne looking scared because ultimately she recognizes those feelings and thoughts Rick was having. And then we go to flashing down the track with them walking down the track. And Michonne.
Well, let's talk about that little look of Carl's for a second, and how it must have been because we got a very different look from Carl, even though he's gonna like. Eventually, he's like, okay, he thinks his dad's a zombie, and he's going to give himself up to his dad to be eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this even further pushes that home that, no, he does need his dad.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it that he's not ready to be on his own.
Carl would be dead in 2 seconds. Or maybe he has Michonne now, too, but if Rick went anywhere, Carl would be gone. But he's also, this isn't the first time we've seen Carl afraid of Rick and have that kind of feeling. Whether it's We've had a couple seasons in a row and a couple of big lead-ups of Carl kind of having a big problem with Rick ever since Lori's been gone. Ever since, like, he's had this little attitude with Rick. And
you couldn't keep her safe.
So, and you killed Shane.
Keep Judith safe.
Exactly, and he keeps bringing up Shane too. You killed Shane.
Yep.
Like, he doesn't remember that Shane was going to kill him. That's
well, he doesn't. Nobody really knows that except Rick. Sure, other people had a feeling. Most of the group knew that. Even Carl, on some level, knew that Shane was, doing the whoop-whoop with his mama.
So they're walking down the tracks after this, and Michonne, I thought for a moment was a bit shell-shocked, but I think it's more she was a little turned on by understanding how Rick's mind's working. And Daryl's doing his hunter thing. We'll be there by sundown. Rick smartly says, "Let's go through the woods. We don't know who these people are." And the four of them approach Terminus. Spread out, they see what they see. Rick asks Carl if he wants to go with him, but he says no. He doesn't even say no. He just walks away with Michonne. Michonne asks why he didn't go with Rick. Carl says he kind of avoids the conversation. We get a really awesome moment with Michonne where we find out more about how her child died and how all those people we got in the flashback dream were basically finished. And they were at a community. Michonne was out on a hunt. She came back. The place had already gone to shit because everyone wasn't really being held together, and her friends were high on drugs and they turned into zombies. And she went in there and cut out their mouths, cut off their hands, turned them into her pets, walked around with them, and became a monster. And she became one of them, and it protected her. and it's really, really sad stuff. It was
It was the revelation she came to when she was walking with that last herd before she went out and finally decided to go find Carl and Rick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she was done being that monster. She knew exactly what she needed for humanity, and that was to be with the family, to be with a group of people that she could care for, that could care for her, and she knew she found that with these two.
Absolutely, and she said that Andrea and Rick and everybody saved her, and yeah, and there's no reason. I have that crazy in me. I see how you look at your dad. You don't need to be scared of me. You're not scared of me. Don't be scared of him. And Carl says my dad says he was proud of me. He called me a good man. I'm not what he thinks I am. I'm just another monster.
Think he's talking only about killing that boy, or do you think he's talking about killing that boy and other people too?
I think he's
Carol covered for Carl. Carol covered for Carl. I refuse to believe that it was Carol.
I think it was Carol. I think.
No, I know. I'm giving up on that. It was Carol. I'm giving up on that now. It was absolutely Carol.
You had finally admitted it straight out. You got the direct. I think it's not just the boy. It's just everything he's been through. Everything he's gone through. I think it makes him feel like he's less than. And
he feels like he killed Shane.
Yep.
He and his dad killed Shane. He feels like he killed the boy. He killed his mother.
Yep. He absolutely killed his mother. He killed Judith because he left her.
He's partially responsible for Judith not being there anymore. For he wasn't allowed. He wasn't there to protect Judith, and neither was Rick.
Yep. They're both responsible for that. So he says, I'm a proud man, I'm a good man, I'm not what he thinks, I'm just another monster. Whatever. So they jump a fence, and we hear scary, ominous music as they approach Terminus. And we go into the room, and this is almost Dahmer initiative-ish to do more Lost stuff. Sorry, Joe. And they go in, and we see Desmond at the bottom of the show. No, we see this woman, the radio announcer that we heard when they were in the car at the early part of the season, and it's kind of like a warehouse. And we have these guys. It's really calm. It's kind of like an interesting, weird setup. It's almost feels slightly comical. And they're like, no, good, glad you found us. Are you here to rob us? They're like, no. And this guy, Garrett, says, welcome to Terminus. We usually do this at the gate. You want Sanctuary? Are you here for Sanctuary? They're like, yep, we're here for Sanctuary. Oh, good. That's what we want to do. Welcome in. We want to give you Sanctuary. And they said they have a few questions for them. And they just say to lay all their weapons down on the ground.
We just want to see them. They didn't say they even wanted to take them too.
Right. They just say they didn't mention that. They just say put all your weapons on the ground. They put all the weapons on the ground. They pat them down, make sure they don't have any hidden weapons, and then they just go pick it up. Pick up your weapons. Okay.
A quick little trust exercise.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was getting good vibes at that point. I was like, oh, these people are good people. This guy's funny.
Yep.
Yeah, he's funny. He seems normal.
Practical, straight to the point, not trying to beat around the bush.
Absolutely. Daryl asked how long this place has started, and they said since the beginning, people just kind of went there. They bring them to Tasha Yar. Tasha's like, oh, heard you guys snuck in the back. That's the smart way. I like it.
She likes it when people go in the back door.
She likes it in the way they go in the back. I said that in my notes. It's ridiculous that I wrote that. She likes it in the back way. That's what Data said. Data said she likes it in the back way. He's all positions. He's programmed with all positions. So Rick sees the Herschel watch, and shit goes crazy. He pulls out the gun, points it to some random dude's head that had the watch, and goes, "Where the fuck did you get the watch? Tell me where you got the watch." He's like Jack Bauer. Tell me what you know. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a 24 rewatch.
He had seen a bunch of stuff though. He was slick. He was paying attention right from go.
Yeah.
You know, it's the watch.
I wouldn't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play poker against Rick. He was noticing all the tells. He was looking around. No one else noticed that.
What was the third thing? There was the watch and the poncho. But
I wrote it back. Wrote it when we get back to the commercial break. Flashback to the prison again with Carl. Our last prison flashback. Flashback to prison again. Carl with the Legos. Oh no, it's our second to last one. This is the Lego one we were talking about. So it mirrors that at the end. Rick says to Carl not to bring his gun and to go out and start farming. So right back to where we have Garrett say say, put down your weapons, Rick. And he goes, where'd you get that watch, riot gear, and poncho? The riot gear was the other thing. The riot gear. And he says,
the riot gear.
The riot gear, I got it from a dead cop. Everything else we got from dead people. We obviously know that Garrett's lying at this point because we know it was the watch. It wasn't like, oh, one of our guests gave me this watch. We knew that's Herschel's watch at that point.
Yep.
And
it was a watch that would never be given up.
Yep. And then we get Garrett saying the line, and I'm guessing that this is his line that he says whenever he turns on people, because the response from the other dudes was, oh no, not now, or goes, no, like, don't say this line. Garrett says, you don't trust us anymore, in this, like, serial killer way. It's like a...
Right, obviously the trust is lost.
Yeah, you don't trust us anymore. Do.
And he lifts his hand up, and he makes a signal with his hand.
Yep, bump, bump, bump. And that's when the guns come out, and it turns into, like, crazy gunfire, and they open fire, and they start running around, and it becomes very obvious very quick that they're not trying to kill them, that they're just trying to lure them into a certain place. And this happened, what I thought was kind of stupid in this moment was just how it was set up. I hate when shows do this. It's not a book. You don't have to say everything. I understand you're doing this, after a comic book, but you don't have to say everything. The audience could see what was happening, but it led to a point where they had to have Michonne say, they're not trying, I don't think they're trying to kill us. Just like obviously they're not trying to kill you. They're obviously trying to lure, we can see that. You don't have to have Michonne state the obvious for the dumbass audience members. If someone can't figure out that they're not trying to kill them, then you don't deserve to watch television because you're too stupid, and go read a book and learn something. Because they weren't trying to, they obviously weren't trying to kill them. And
they were hurting them. They were hurting the cattle. Hurting them like cattle.
And then they run past this this place where you see a bunch of bones and
Well, they run past a lot of things. The hurting. There's a lot of paths. Like at one point, they run through a room
with candles. Yeah, the shrine, like a shrine room. It looks
There's
like.
another room before that. They go towards one door and they shut that door and force them out another door labeled A. And there was another A before that. Like at every turn they took and at every open door there was an A.
Weird. It was that scene kind of reminded me of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey when they're looking at the different when when they're trapped in hell and they're looking at all the different hells. They're like, oh shit, oh fuck, kid being raped in that room, run, oh weird creepy shrine, run, oh weird bones, like gooey bones of humans, run. So after that, we hear screams of people from coming from like a subway car, from a train car, and we go back to them trapped. They're kind of up against the fence or there's all these guys with machine guns waiting at the fence for them, and they're trapped. Carl.
Well, the only person that I think notices first off that cage that you were talking about is Rick. He looks in the cage as they run past, I believe. Yeah, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure he sees all the bones in that cage, all the rib cages, the cage of cages. You know, and I think he's the only one that notices.
Gross stuff. I don't know what kind of stuff Tasha Yar's up to, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's it's alive. Oh, sorry, that was bad. So they're like drop weapons. This is where we got our D&D game. Ringleader, go to the train car. If you mess with us, your kid dies. Now Archer. Now Samurai. Now Carl, standing alone. Healer, go over there and heal your team.
Yep.
And they order them to go over to the
train car A. The freight car A. Big A on the side of that,
too. A. It's all about the A. What do you think the A stands for, Joe?
Animal.
Animals? Is that these are their animals, like their
lives? They were cattle. They just got herded in. I don't know. There could have been different paths. You know, lead them down path A instead of path B. Maybe one's like the fattening up train. One's the instant death. Who knows?
Yeah.
They had a lot of weird rooms there.
Yeah. So we stand at the door and Rick starts to walk in. They all walk in. He yells for his son. Garrett says, "Open the door and go in." Brings the kid. Blah blah blah. Basically, they all just go in. This is a big lead up. A lot of foreplay for them just walking into this train car. They open the train car. I kind of knew what was about to happen here in the train car. I was kind of expecting. They weren't going to just mass kill a bunch of our main characters off camera. That wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And so they open the door and they look through the darkness, and we
Hold
see.
on, I gotta rewind a minute too. You gotta think the barbecue thing is brilliant. How many people are gonna? I mean, that barbecue must be going 24/7 because anybody that shows up and smells that, I'm sure human flesh cooking smells almost as good or just as good as beef or chicken or anything else burning on their fire.
Absolutely. If there's anything we learned from Demolition Man is that a rat burger can taste just as good as a regular burger if you're
Right?
hungry.
It must smell heavenly to all these hungry people showing up. So
They've got
like,
steak. See the piece of the meat that they were hanging them? It was like thick filet mignon.
it's huge. It was huge.
Huge.
Yeah, it was a side of ribs or something. It was a big flank steak. Not a lot of people are going to say no to that. You know, a lot of people are going to just be like, "Oh, great!" And who hands a perfect stranger a piece of meat that big in the apocalypse? And if this place has been around so long, where the hell is everybody?
Yeah.
It's been around since the beginning. For a year and a half, you've had those signs out, and there's only 10 people. That's a big red alert right there.
Absolutely, and you got to think also that Rick's had farming and pigs and meat on his mind. He's probably got to be thinking right away when they hand him that meat, where's this meat coming from? I mean, that's got to be the first thing you're thinking about.
Right. I didn't see any sheeps or cows on the stakeout. There was nothing like that when we were looking around from the outside.
Yeah,
That's had to be what they're thinking.
Yeah, you're wearing my friend's watch. Rick also played through the Walking Dead video game, and he knows cannibalism's in this universe. He understands. So we're back to video games again, but it's true. He played the Walking Dead video game. He understands. Rick is really
Does
really
video game art imitate life, or does life imitate video game art?
It's a question for the ages. We'll have to deal with that in our next podcast. So we see through the darkness Maggie's boobs perking through, which they're likely to do, and
just like they did in the last episode, poke through the darkness.
They're the first thing you see through the dark, and we see Glenn, Bob, Maggie, Tara, Abe. I kind of missed him on the first, but I rewound. Mullet was there. He was standing in the back. He was kind of hidden, but he was definitely in there too.
So then train A is definitely not the fattening up tray because that dude was ready to cook.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and how in a year and a half later is this dude ready to cook? How is he not skin and bones too?
Okay,
the one magic thing of the apocalypse.
If we want to get into that, we have to get into how Hurley on Lost stayed as fat, being on the island that long. If you got to figure he would have shed off a few pounds, but whatever. That's a different topic altogether. So we get our group reminiscent reunion, family reunion, but the whole group looks really defeated, except for Rick. Rick's starting to get a smile on his face. He opens it. I forgot to also mention before, like right away, Carl, since all this has happened, post the rape, has been completely shell-shocked. Like he can't believe. They all looked, when they were all stuck up against the fence, they all had this look on their face like, we are the biggest dumbasses in the world for coming here. Like, what were we thinking with everything we've been through?
Yep.
With everything
exactly what Carl was thinking. Exactly right back to that thought from pre-rape scene was, he can't protect me. Wait, protect me or not protect me? What? Ah!
Yeah, Carl had this like, I'm a dumbass here. We're all dumbasses. We've made
and we're the monsters, and Carl's the monster. He was almost raped the night before. Now he's got these people shooting at him, hurting him along.
And I think you just tread upon. That's a big thing that we dealt with in this episode. A big reminder that as bad as the things that some of our people that we know, our group that we're attached to, can do, they're not bad people. They're good people that are forced to do bad things to survive. And that's a big difference. They're not bad people like the people that we've seen, like Joe Hale and Mayor Joe Hale, and these Terminus people and the governor. Even the governor this governor that we saw pre Penny getting killed by Michonne. What do you call it? Mayberry there, Woodbury, was a little bit more normal than Terminus. They weren't eating people. It was all a facade just so the governor could keep people's lives normal while he was crazy pants. So the people living there weren't dealing with horrible things. They weren't being cycled and eaten. This is a different kind of evil even onto that, if that's what's happening, which it seems to be. I think it's pretty obvious that that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's clear.
that they're eating people. I don't think there's any is that happening or not. So right after we get our reunion, we get one last flashback to Rick uh, uh, seeing Herschel farming with Rick and Carl, kind of doing the whole teaching the farming thing and teaching class, and Beth's there too, and we get a little bit of flirting between Beth and Carl, which is cool because I thought we forgot about that, but we definitely got a little Carl and Beth flirting with taking the hat back and forth, and it was just a good, wholesome family moment.
And I thought it was a brilliant way to have Beth in the episode still, to reminisce about her and not have her in this part of the story.
I agree, and this goes on one of the few things, one of the very few things I had problem with this episode was the lack of Carol and Tyrese, that I feel like maybe they should have popped in one or two more flashbacks, even though I know we've dealt with their story. Their story has completion. We don't really need to see them. It just goes, we'll talk about next season and what we're thinking going to happen in a second here. So we flash back to right after that. We slice back to Rick in the train car and saying, what's his line? They're gonna feel pretty stupid. They're gonna feel pretty stupid when they find out. And someone says, "Find out what?" And then we get a close up of on Andrew Lincoln on Rick's face that they're screwing with the wrong people.
And it was fantastic. What a line.
Awesome line. Like a Dirty Harry, awesome, totally like badass moment for Rick where you know what, Joe? I believe him. Terminus is fucked. Terminus is fucked. Because now we'll get into
Here's the thing. In that tanker right now, you have a samurai. You have a tracker, archer, ranger type. You have the military Abraham Ford. Yep. You have what is supposedly a genius in Mullet Man. And you have some great soldiers. You have Glenn as a soldier, Maggie as a soldier. Beth even says that she's a fighter. You know, she's not like Maggie. Yep. Glenn has proven himself time and time again that he's a soldier.
They're all people that that can kill you without weapons.
Yep.
They're all that know how to snap a neck in a second.
Yep.
And then you have Daryl too. I don't know if you just mentioned him there. You have Daryl there too, who can definitely kick some ass and kill some.
He's the ranger type I was talking about, the archer, tracker, ranger type.
Absolutely. And this goes, and you have Carol and Tyrese on the outside heading to Terminus. So you have the Cold, who somehow I think Carol is a little bit. I think if anyone can suss out what Terminus is before they head in there, it's Carol. Carol's not going to trust anybody or trust anything.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up here, or put a little bow on it, what do you think of season 4 as a whole? Not just the second half, the whole season 4 as a whole. How does it rank with the other seasons? Do you feel like it's an improvement over 3? Because I know a lot of people had a problem with seasons 2 and 3. Do you feel like
season 4 started with it was just it was a couple of governor episodes leading up to the attack on the prison, which was a break, and then like. The first couple episodes was the sickness in the prison.
Yeah, the sickness.
I thought it was good. It kind of gave us time to get to know some characters that were all just killed off anyway. So maybe that was a waste. Maybe they just should have come straight in to the beginning of the season with those 2 governor episodes and just got cracking right to it. Forget that whole like it's he's not out there, Daryl, but.
I do feel like, though, the new showrunner, and I heard him briefly talk on The Talking Dead before we started, his goal coming into the show was to give every character a little story and have some sort of story.
For them all to crash together, right?
Absolutely. Where he felt like coming into the show, one of the problems that it had, there were too many background characters, and the show didn't focus on them or give them anything to do. And he wanted to give a little bit more structure to the storyline. And I feel like if we look...
He got rid of them all. He got rid of all of the background characters, up to and including just about all of the ones they introduced before this Terminus.
Yep, and all the people that came from at the end of season 2 or at the end of season 3 that came in, they all died from the sickness. All the Mayberry. I keep wanting to call it Mayberry. Woodbury people, all dead, all dead.
Yep. They died on the bus trying to escape, or they died from the sickness.
Yep.
The only one that we don't know about, and I'll say this again just because I'm still on it, the only one we don't know about is that little boy.
You think the little boy's somewhere like Morgan, and he's clear? We're gonna get Clear Part 2, and it's gonna be all about the little boy, them leaving him.
He's just sitting in the prison, waiting for them to come back. He's like the little girl in Aliens movie.
I do feel like, though, for the most part, this season has done a good job of making it more exciting and more fun. I think there are some fat could be trimmed. I didn't really dig the whole sickness, but I get that it was a device to get rid of a lot of people. I feel like it bogged down the script a little bit. And I feel like in the back half of this season, the ones we're talking about, I feel like a couple of the episodes that were directly focused on one character could have been combined a little bit and maybe get a little bit more of Mayor Hale in that whole storyline, because I liked it so much. I felt like they could have even done a little bit more lead up to them hunting Rick in a couple of almost situations where they meet up with Rick, but Daryl doesn't quite see who it is. They think that just maybe one other Rick episode in the mix there.
We kind of lost Rick after for most of the middle part of this season.
Yeah, I couldn't. It wouldn't have bothered me to maybe cut out that episode we talked about, that the secondary episode when I said you didn't need Beth and Daryl in it. That second half episode.
Maybe giving us another Rick story there.
Yeah, put it,
a couple of Rick flashes instead of more Daryl and Beth.
And put the Daryl and Beth back in the Daryl and Beth episode, and just have all Daryl and Beth in that one episode, and then made the B storyline with Sasha and Bob and all of them be with Rick instead of Daryl and Beth again. But
because they could have easily, as they burned down the house started walking away, but
had her
run away because of a bunch of zombies and get split up for half a second and then get her kidnapped there.
Absolutely. And just to finish things off here about The Walking Dead Season 4, what do you hope to see from Season 5? Are you excited for Season 5? Does this finale get you pumped and like you can't wait for the show to come back?
It absolutely gets me pumped for Season 5.
Me too. This is the most pumped I've been for a Walking Dead season finale into the new season of Walking Dead. This has me the most. If at my Walking Dead excitement level, this is the highest it's been, I guess that's the best thing I can say about this season. I think Season 1 was still the best Walking Dead, but Seasons 2 and 3 definitely dragged and didn't peak at the right times and didn't quite stick the landing, because especially the end of Season 2, the whole lead up to the governor thing, and Season 3, the whole lead up to the governor thing and how that ended. I think Season 2 ended strong with the Sophia reveal, but it was too much lead up to that.
Oh God, it was almost endless. It was
endless lead up to that. But I do think Season 3's ending, the way that the governor storyline ended the first time before he came back, that sucked. That was awful. And I think we would have got a very different beginning of Season 4 if that was handled correctly, because we wouldn't have needed it. What happened at the beginning of Season 4 should have been at the end of Season 3. And then Season 4 should have been all Terminus, and we should have got our mid-season finale should have been this, and we should have got the end of this at the end of this season. If you're following what I'm saying.
I am following what you're saying. They did a good job, though, salvaging. Not salvaging, because I don't want to say there was anything lost, but this second half of this season was very nice, and I do like the individual focus stories. I thought they were great, and I don't think it would have been better if they had just cut it up and mashed it all together.
I agree, and I think you probably saw more what the show's going to be going forward in the second half in the episodes we talked about. That's going to be what The Walking Dead is moving forward, because we've got a little bit more of a clean slate for the new showrunner to do what he wants to do, because he basically handled all old business in the first half of Season 4. The Season 4 finale basically was the finish of all. It's like, we just have to handle the other regime, have one more season with the players that this guy got, and then I'm going to trade all the players and bring in all my guys. And that's basically what he did. He's going to run with the Abraham story and the Terminus story. I think next season what we're going to see is them busting out of Terminus, killing everybody there, like them bringing that down, and then maybe hanging out there for a little while to recharge. And then, I think we're going to split up again at some level, and some people are going to go to Washington, and some people are going to go looking for a new home. And
and we also, they have that cache of weapons that they hid outside outside of Terminus.
Yep.
And I don't know where they were, but it looked to me like they were roughly in around the same area they were when they came over the fence in the first place.
Yeah, Glenn's gonna be able to. They're gonna be able to break Glenn out of there. He's tiny.
He fits in small places. Carl, he's small.
No, by the beginning of next season, just the 2 weeks that they're gonna be in that thing, I bet Carl's gonna be taller than Glenn. By the time we get back, we'll get to that with our next show, where Bran is now
puberty.
Yeah, it's way through puberty. It doesn't look. It was looking weird now. They got Brad looking weird. So that caps off The Walking Dead. I'd say this was the second best season all in all, and we will definitely be back when The Walking Dead is back talking about that. But we're not done with post-episode recaps here in the Issues program. I'm definitely not done. And Joe and I have already found our next show that him and I are going to talk about, and that is starting next Sunday. And it is, in fact, of course, the Game of the Thrones. Yeah, the Game of Thrones.
We're song of ice and fire.
Yes, I need to work on my pronunciation because I'm gonna destroy some names. I'm gonna call Tyrone. I'm gonna mispronounce that name all the time, and Tywin and Tyrone. I feel like we need to talk about a couple of things off camera about how we want to approach this in the sense of the fact that you and I both know things to come. I feel like we should go book spoiler free. I mean, we should not talk about book spoilers before if we can. Yeah. I think we should hold on to it. Like I think people would appreciate that if we don't use our book knowledge. We're going to try to respect that for people in the chat, and we'll talk about that. I know we can't completely keep that out, but we both know what's going to happen. But I'm going to go into it with virgin eyes, Joe. I'm going to try to go into this with virgin eyes.
I will do the same because there's a lot of things that are different. So what the hard part for me is going to be to talk about what I just saw and how it may or may not be different from what
I think that's the line that we can walk. I think when we see stuff, we can talk about how it's different than the book, and how if the book gives us more details about something, I will definitely defer to you, and I want to expand on that stuff. I'm fine with that. I just don't want to give people spoilers of what's to come of certain things that we know that are coming. I don't want to spoil for people. There's a lot of fun stuff about to happen in this season of Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, there is. There's some brilliant scenes coming up.
Absolutely.
The stuff that's in the book on the second half of book 3 that we're about to see is just
So
right into it.
So guys, same time, same bat time. Is Game of Thrones at 10 p.m. or is it at 9 p.m.?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So good. Same bat time. We'll check in with you. Our show will either be at the same time or it will be at 11:30. But most of you people watch on replay anyway, so that hardly matters. And this is a different kind of show because not everyone has HBO and everyone's fake streaming this show. So our times may vary when we put this out, but we're gonna try to get right after we watch the episode on opening night most evenings. And also, I'm going to see if Joe and I can touch base this week to maybe do a pre-season, our season hype. We're going to sum up the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones in an hour. That's our goal. We're going to sum up the first 3 seasons in an hour. I think we can do it.
I think we can too.
I think we can.
That's a challenge. That's about 4,000 pages worth of written material, but I think we can do it.
I think we can do it. I think we can do it in 5 minutes, actually. If we really needed to just sum it up. I think season 1, I'm just gonna say this happens. It's all about a guy's head getting chopped off, essentially. Okay.
30 hours to 20 hours. 30 hours? 30 hours of TV. It'll be fun.
It will be fun. So, anyways, look out for that maybe sometime this week. But I'll talk to Joe when we stop the broadcast here to see what days off that he has and stuff. But we'll probably do that during the day one day this week if we can. And we will be back next Sunday to talk about Game of Thrones. So, Joe, thank you very much. It was this adventure was great. Talk to you next time.
Very good. Thank you very much, Phil, for having me. Thanks for the fans for watching, and thanks for everybody, and thanks to all the people at The Walking Dead for making such an awesome and fabulous television show.
Way to improve, guys. And everyone, you can check out issuesprogram.com. Please follow, subscribe, rate, comment, do all that amazing stuff. Thank you, everybody, and talk to you next time.